Get wide.
Oh my
Welcome to
gosh.
the K9s for Veterans podcast, Operation Honor. Join us on this amazing journey. Hosted by Michael Tellerino, your guide through these inspiring stories along with special co-host Kenny Avery. In this podcast, we will share personal stories and highlight impactful programs that empower our veterans. Discover the impact that service dogs have in the lives of veterans. Tune in to witness heartfelt moments and transformational journeys. Get ready to connect, learn, and be inspired by our veterans' stories. Operation Honor is here to uplift and empower. Let's begin this important mission together.
Good night, and thanks for joining me tonight. My name is Mike Tellerino. I am the CEO of Canadian for Veterans, and along with Ken Avery, a director, and I also have a very special guest with me, Tina Marie. Go ahead.
Bibergall.
Okay, I didn't want to mess that up, hon. Anyway, tonight we're here to talk about real estate and veterans buying homes, correct?
That is correct.
What inspired you to specialize working with veterans?
Well, I have two grandfathers and two uncles who are veterans. And, I recognize that homeless veterans are a big concern in this country. So I just wanted to find a way to show my appreciation and give back to the community.
That's awesome. It really is. We need more people and more organizations like you and your organization that are willing to go out of the way to help our veterans. We don't do enough for our veterans. So
I agree.
you for doing what you're doing for our veterans. Tell us a little bit when a veteran's looking for a home and he contacts a real estate agent like yourself. He's never done it before. Doesn't know the first thing about buying a home. He's never owned a home for you, for himself. What do you talk to them about? What do you warn them against, or what are the guidelines that you give them to go by?
Well, the first thing I like to do is sit down and have a buyer consultation where I talk about things like, expectations as far as how to obtain financing, what criteria they might be looking for, what towns they're interested in. We go over their budget. We go over things like what they're looking for in a community. I have them do a little bit of research on that. And then, of course, what size house they want. We go through things like inspection, what to expect from an inspection, what to look for. And luckily, I've been really fortunate to work with some really great inspectors so I can guide them, on who to choose for that.
Okay. What is the hardest part for an agent working with a veteran?
Not necessarily working with a veteran, but just in general, right now, the market is difficult. I know everybody's heard. Buyers are having a hard time obtaining homes because inventory is just really low right now. We're seeing a change a little bit. It's getting a little bit better, but you do have to be prepared to go into it with like a fighting attitude that if you find a home you really love, you have to be willing to pay asking price or sometimes over. So that is definitely a concern that we talk about in the first buyer consultation that I have.
That's awesome. Yeah, when a veteran is looking for a home for the first time, he goes online, realestate.com or whatever it is, and he starts searching for a home. What should he watch out for? What are some of the pitfalls of doing that?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is to not always focus on all the different websites. There are plenty of like secondary and third market websites. I am a member of the multiple listing service, which is what I pay fees for, the MLS, right? And so I set up a profile with a search that is specialized towards the criteria that we have talked about.
Mhm.
And as soon as a property hits the market, an email goes out to my buyer letting them know, hey, here's a new listing, and they can mark it interested. It lets me know right away that they would want to see this property.
Right.
Of course, they can go on the different websites and find things and stuff like that, but it's, sometimes there's some scams out there where there's some people who want something like a referral fee or a reservation fee in advance. You
Really?
know, I've known some people who've gotten trapped into actually sending money, wiring money over to someone, and it's a scam where the home isn't actually for sale. So, you know, it's definitely good to work with a realtor and not try to do it on their own to avoid things like that.
That makes a lot of sense right there. That's something that could really help somebody save some money out of pocket for that. You know, I think for a first time home buyer, you have to have faith in your agent. If you don't have faith in your agent and really feel that they have your best interest at heart, you're already losing, right?
That's true. That's true. And you know, I think one of the things that besides honoring, you know, our heroes, one of the other things that made me want to do this is that I recognize how hard it is sometimes to be a first time home buyer. And with my program, I'm donating 20 to 30% of my commission
Right,
towards the down payment, you know. So sometimes, you know, you are in the middle of renting, you can't save money for a down payment, but you've got the income that you could afford your mortgage.
right.
So hopefully, you know, through this program, I can assist them with having enough money to pay their down payment.
That's amazing. How hard is it if somebody's renting a home and it's got the option to buy? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
So just to clarify, do you mean if they're in like a rent to own
Yeah.
position?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So that was really popular in the 80s and somewhat in the 90s. We're not seeing as many rent to own options as there were previously. There are a couple companies who do kind of a rent to own program, but what they do is they set you up in a rental that increases in price every year, and your rent payments are not going towards your equity. So you're still just renting. You're still just paying someone else's mortgage. And
Exactly.
what they do is they put a cap on the appreciation price of the home. So say you're renting a home in 2026 that's worth $300,000. If that home were to appreciate to $325,000 in a year, they would say, okay, we capped it, you know, we capped this appreciation at maybe 3%. So you can buy it a little bit cheaper than what the open market price would be, but you're still throwing all your money into rent payments.
Right, right. That makes, yeah. I don't think that's such a good deal at all.
It's really not. I'd probably get in trouble for saying that, but
Well,
I don't personally think it is. You know,
Yeah.
I have a couple kids who've rented for a long time, and fortunately, one of them just bought his first house, and I gave him the family, you know, help instead of the military help. He got the family help and you know a little bit towards his down payment. And I've got another one who's looking and just like, gosh, guys, stop paying that rent.
That, you know what? That's, you're just throwing money away. If
Yeah.
I tell everybody, if you could afford to buy, buy. It's an investment in your future.
Well, and rent is incredibly expensive. It has gone up so much in the last 3 years that people don't understand that even with the higher interest rates that we have, which luckily they're coming down a little bit, but even with interest rates higher than they were 3 years ago, oftentimes you can still find a home with a mortgage payment cheaper than what you're going to pay renting.
well,
I
I've
live,
I've seen rents around here. This is crazy. I'm in Bolingbrook. I've seen rental properties uh, upwards of $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you might as well pay a mortgage.
Right. Yeah. I grew up in Bolingbrook and I've helped, you know, a few renters, and I always try to influence them gently to at least talk to a mortgage specialist prior to renting, you know, because a lot of people don't realize that they really do have buying power. And you know, hey, you've got decent credit, you've got good income. Why do you think you can't buy? Why not talk to a mortgage person? At least all they can do is tell you, no, you're not ready yet, you know, but at least give it a chance.
yeah. I can't see why anybody would, if they had the financial wherewithal to purchase a home, why they'd want to rent. Because to me, you're just throwing. I lived in Willowbrook, an association. It was an apartment, beautiful. It had swimming pools, exercise, tennis courts, had everything. And that was during transitions from my old house to buying the one I'm at now in Plainfield. And 5, 6 years of dismay, I was paying for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Oh, it had a fireplace, big deal. I was paying $1,700 a month.
Mhm.
I mean, I thought, well, this is crazy. I gotta, you know, I just can't
Yeah.
do it.
Well, Mike, some of it is the younger generation, they're afraid to commit. They don't want to commit because they don't know what town they want to end up in or if they even want to stay in the state. And, what I say to that is it's always going to be an investment. I don't see the seller's market changing anytime soon. So if you buy a house now, 3 years from now, you're going to have equity in that house. It's an investment. So why not go ahead and do it?
I know. It just doesn't make any sense if you can afford to buy to rent. It just doesn't make any sense. What do you, again, for a first time buyer, when they're out looking, what should they be aware of?
Um, you know, Obviously having an inspector sheds light on a lot of things in the house. So, when you're first going through the house, I take a look at things like, how do the windows look good? Can we open the windows? Something you might not think of, like how's the water pressure? How does the temperature inside the house feel? We look at major things like that and then leave all the other things to the inspectors.
Mhm.
I encourage people to kind of drive through the neighborhood at different times of the day,
Right.
see what it feels like. Are you getting a warm neighborhood feeling? Are there any things nearby that would concern you? Some people don't like to live near schools because of the traffic. Some people want to live on a quieter street. Some people want a neighborhood with young kids, so you can get a lot of those ideas when you drive through the neighborhood at different times of the day.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Know where you're going to buy it because you're going to be there for a while. So,
Yeah, and then there's plenty of resources. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
no, I'm saying when you purchase or make that decision, you're going to be there for a while. So it better be a place that you're comfortable with being.
Right, right. And there are plenty of resources online too. Like people ask me, well, what are the schools like in this neighborhood? And legally, I can't advise on what the schools are like, but there are resources online that you can go to, betterschools.com or goodschools.com. I can't remember the exact website right now, but where you can get, ratings on all the different schools.
What's
Tina,
you know,
go-
let's go back to the you know, you see all these commercials with zero down and all that. I'm not a fan of that, but what's a good percentage for a young family or anybody to put down for your down payment on a house?
There's so many different programs right now. If you're doing an FHA loan, you can do as little as 3.5%. To be honest, I'm not sure what the minimum is on a VA loan right now. I leave that to the experts. I stay in my lane and leave the financing to the mortgage experts. But
Okay.
if you can put 20% down, that's fantastic. Because if you put 20% down, you're going to avoid paying the private mortgage insurance.
yeah,
But again, I encourage people to not let that hold them back. If you can only put down the minimum, just put down the minimum. When I bought 8 years ago, I was only able to put 3.5% down. And I was renting for 10 years. And I felt like, hey, this is my time. And I only have 3.5%, but I'm just gonna go for it. And I did it and I never looked back. And I'm so glad that I did
for
because
sure.
now I've got a home that has, $80,000 equity in it.
Right. You couldn't have done that before if you didn't buy.
Yeah. So, don't let a minimum down payment deter you from purchasing your home.
No, because I bought my house 10 years ago, um, and it has doubled in value.
That's
Doubled
fantastic.
in value, and I'm here in Bolingbrook. It's
Yeah.
so, and I do see houses around here. they don't last on the market 3 days.
No, and that's just about everywhere, and all homes are having multiple offers now, and you know, I encourage people to try to look at homes that have been on the market for maybe a month. Maybe it's not the newest, shiniest, most perfect home, but people who are willing to move into something that needs a little bit of work, needs a little bit of paint. If you're handy, you can fix some things up. Those are the homes where you're going to get a better deal,
Let me ask
as
you a question.
opposed to the ones that just, I'm
If
sorry, Mike, go ahead.
if if I want to go buy a house and I have it inspected, and the windows aren't perfect, they got to be replaced, or the heater, water heater, or this that, can you negotiate as an agent with the seller on behalf of the buyer? Can you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to go about the inspection. When you're writing an offer, you can either write it as is, which means we are going to have an inspection, but we're not going to ask you for anything. So if you're trying to get a home that's just been listed, a home that has multiple offers, we always want to do as is. Now, if we're offering on a home that there aren't multiple offers or that has been on the market for a little while, certainly you can negotiate for things like that. You negotiate either a credit at closing or you negotiate for the sellers to fix that item before closing.
How easy is that to do? Do most sellers, will they negotiate?
Yeah, if it's multiple offers, they're most likely not going to negotiate. But my experience is that sellers, are pretty open to meeting people halfway on things, especially if it's been on the market for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to have an agent in your corner. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because most first-time homebuyers, they wouldn't know that could even do that. So if it's not for the agent to say, "Hey, look, we can negotiate this. There's $3,000 worth of windows needed. As soon as you move in there, you're going to need new windows. Let's talk to the seller about knocking the price down $3,000 to help pay for that."
Right.
So, but that's all up to the agent does that if it's a good agent, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's
How
my job.
home buyer wouldn't know to do that.
Most wouldn't. Yeah, that's correct. And, you're always going to end up getting a more fair deal and more thorough inspection and stuff like that when you are dealing with a realtor who, I mean, that's why we're licensed. That's why we studied and passed an exam. That's our job. And most of us hopefully are pretty good at it.
You seem like you're pretty good at what you're doing.
Thank you.
People that are going to watch this, because we're going to blast this all over. If somebody is interested, and especially to our veteran audience, if they're interested in looking for a home and really don't know where to begin, and you're willing to sit and talk to them and walk them through the process, how are they going to reach you? What's a good contact?
So they can always reach me on my cell, which is 630-488-9381. They can reach me via email, which is realty, REALTY, by Tina Marie @gmail.com. And I know you'll have that information on your website as well.
Yes.
I'm in the process of building a web page. We're almost done with the web page, which we're really excited about. They'll be able to go on there and just, fill out a little interest form and submit it, and it'll come right to me.
That's
So,
awesome.
and then I'm going to be doing some events with you guys in the upcoming future, and I'm working on some flyers too.
Get
So
them together, because we'd love to have you. I know a lot of veterans that are like, what do I do? I'm just getting out of the service. I don't know what to do with myself. Do I want to buy a home? So having someone like you that they could just talk to as a real person and not just someone who's trying to make money off of them.
Yeah.
That's different. You're sincere in about wanting to help people. And to me, kudos to you for that, because there's not enough people out there that are really sincere in doing what you're doing and not just doing it to make a buck.
Well, I was really blessed when I came out of college. My fiance and I didn't want to rent, and my grandparents were kind enough to loan us $2,000. That's what you needed in 1992 to buy a little coach home that was $105,000 or something like that. We had a little bit of money saved, and they loaned us $2,000, and we paid them back every penny of it.
Good.
But something like that, just being able to give someone who's given so much to our country and sacrificed so much of themselves, it's honestly a blessing and an honor for me to be able to do that. And not just for our military, but for our first responders as well. I'm very happy to help.
Right. I was talking to a group of veterans, and I was telling them that I was having you on my show, that we were going to talk about, real estate and helping veterans and stuff. They were, like, that's great, because, that's something I want to do, is start looking for a home. And I guess, is there a better time in the year to start looking as opposed to another time?
Well, I mean, it was always, the spring market was busier, and that's still true. But I've also noticed a little bit of a change that people are listing in the winter, whereas they didn't before. People might be relocating, they might have changes in their family status. People go through divorces or empty nesters. So really, there's no terrible time to buy. It used to be like, oh, don't buy in the winter, but I'm seeing that there are homes available every part of the year.
Is there a difference in a first time home buyer looking at a townhouse or a home? I mean,
So the thing you need to consider with a townhome is that most of them will have an association fee. So, townhomes can be more convenient as far as less exterior maintenance. And I actually have a coach home, or a duplex. I'm sorry, I have a duplex, but I don't have a association fee. And
right.
at the time, it was more affordable for me to find a duplex that didn't have the association fee, obviously. So that's just something that our lender, would talk to my buyer about when they sit down for that lender consultation is, hey, here's your buying power, here's what your payment's going to be. Which is better? Do you want to put your money into, an HOA fee, or do you want to put your money into a single family? It's just a decision. It's a choice.
For me, I live in a townhouse. My association is $225 a month, which I
Oh,
think is
that's not bad.
really reasonable. And they
Yeah,
do a little landscaping, they shovel, they plow, they do whatever. I just had a new roof put on, didn't cost me a penny.
that's great. That's really good.
I'm so busy, I don't have time to do landscaping and lawn cutting. And even if you do, you have to hire somebody to do it.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. The money I'm paying for the HOA fee, I'd be paying someone to come and do it anyway.
Absolutely. That's a really reasonable HOA fee. And,
Yeah.
they are out there. They're not as common as they used to be. I'm seeing HOA fees going as high as $800 a month that have all the bells and whistles. They have swimming pools and gyms, and,
Yeah.
they pick up your garbage outside your front door. So it's just a matter of what amenities you want.
Wow.
They pick up dog poop.
No, I don't think they do that. They have
Oh,
designated
I,
areas.
I have the pet service coming.
so do I.
Oh, I used to have one of those too. So yeah.
Oh my God, you got 4 dogs on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, 5, right?
Yeah,
Well,
you have 5.
yeah.
God
Do
bless.
they still have all them tax credits and all that good stuff for first-time home buyers?
There are first-time home buyer grants available that some banks have.
Hey,
And, they knew we were talking about them.
come here.
So, and again, I mean, that's something that, that we would have a lender conversation about, but there are some first-time home buyer grants available, yeah.
Okay. Do you recommend a lender?
Hey,
Well, I believe that Mr. Tellerino has a preferred lender that he works with,
yeah, Fairway Mortgage.
Fairway Mortgage. Yeah.
They're great sponsors of ours.
I know. But
Anyway, Tina, I want to thank you for being my guest tonight. And
Thank you guys so much.
It was fun.
Not recommending you to anybody I know who's buying a home. Really, that's how much I think you're so sincere about helping people.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all you guys do as well. It's a fantastic program that you run there, and I know how many veterans you guys have helped, and I appreciate everything you do.
Well, God bless you. Look at this.
Oh, she's so beautiful. She just wants daddy time now.
Yeah, okay. God bless you.
Thank you, Michael. You too. You guys too. All
All
right.
right.
You have a good rest of your evening, and flash my number up there so we can make this as far-reaching as possible.
Sure.
Listen, what you need to do is go on the Canine page after the post. It's on there now. As soon as we hit the end button, it'll be there. Put your contact information in the comments section on all 3 pages.
Perfect. I will do that.
And then I'll list it. I'll have Kenny listed on our website tomorrow as well.
Sounds great.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
No, you're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Bye.